I'm parked in my truck outside the courthouse, divorce papers still warm in my hands, watching that video one last time before I even think about deleting it. On the screen, two people, thinking they were untouchable, are tangled up in each other inside the false safety of tinted windows. My thumb hovers over the delete button, but I can't press it yet. Not until I get this off my chest. Not until I explain how a man who built his life on loyalty and trust ended up bulldozing the whole damn thing down to the ground. 3 months ago, I would have bet my last paycheck, and my father's headstone, that Michelle and I were solid. 15 years together, 12 of them married. We'd climbed our way from a shoebox apartment to a 4-bedroom colonial in Brookfield. I ran big construction projects. She was climbing fast at Ridley and Company. Marketing. We were the couple people at barbecues indeed, at least that's what I thought. The cracks started small. A bottle of designer perfume, French, expensive, the kind that made me sneeze. Michelle had never cared about that kind of thing. The girls at work all wear it, she said, leaning just out of reach when I went to kiss her neck. That should have been my first red flag. She'd never given a damn about the girls at work. Then came the phone habits. We used to leave our phones lying anywhere, kitchen counter, coffee table, forgotten in yesterday's jeans. Now hers was always face down, never more than an arm's reach away. During dinner, she'd flip it to check messages, angling the screen like she was guarding nuclear codes. When I asked who kept texting, she'd wave me off. Just work. Greg needs the quarterly numbers updated. Greg Turner, her boss. The same guy who'd been at our anniversary dinner 6 months ago, raising his wine glass to toast. The hardest working employee I've ever had. His wife, Danielle, had been there too, quiet, elegant, with a smile that never touched her eyes. I remember thinking they barely spoke to each other. Now I wonder if Danielle already knew what I was too blind to see. The late nights started in February. Big client presentation, Michelle would announce at 8 p.m., grabbing her laptop bag. Don't wait up. She'd come back smelling off. Not like another man's cologne, she was too careful for that, but her perfume would be reapplied too quickly, and underneath it, that sterile scent of hotel soap. I found a receipt in her car for La Pro lingerie, $200 for something I'd never seen on her. When I brought it up, lightly, carefully, she laughed. That was for Jenna's bachelorette gift. You know how pricey that place is. The problem? Jenna's bachelorette party was 3 months ago, and the receipt was dated last Tuesday. Every marriage hits rough patches, right? That's what I told myself when she started showering the second she got home, when she swapped the silk nightgowns I'd bought her for oversized t-shirts, when she jerked away if I touched her without warning. In construction, you learn to spot structural damage early, a crack here, a shift there, before the whole damn thing comes crashing down. Then came the Friday that blew it all apart. She stood in our kitchen, loading the dishwasher with this fake, casual tone I'd heard too many times. I'm going shopping with the girls this afternoon. Probably grab dinner after. You don't mind, right? Which girls? I asked, eyes still on the building permits I was reviewing. You know, Lisa, Taylor from accounting, maybe Heather, if she can get a sitter. The thing about lies? They're padded with unnecessary detail. Michelle had never once mentioned Heather needing a babysitter. Heather's kids were in high school. That little slip stuck with me. I kissed Michelle goodbye around noon, catching the taste of lipstick that seemed too perfect for a trip to the outlet mall. I watched her check herself in the hallway mirror, twice. She was wearing that black dress, the one she used to save for our date nights, the one that hugged her curves in a way she knew drove me crazy. Have fun, I said. You too, she shot back, already halfway out the door. Don't work too hard. I waited 15 minutes before heading out after her. Not because I was some controlling husband with a GPS tracker. Not because I'd planned this. But because something inside me, deep, gut level, was screaming. 30 years in construction teaches you to respect that feeling. I've stepped away from scaffolding seconds before it collapsed. This was the same cold jolt in my chest. I started the truck with steady hands. I didn't feel noble. I didn't feel justified. It was like watching a wrecking ball swing toward a building you poured your life into. You can't stop it, so you watch. I needed to know. The weight of not knowing had been crushing me for weeks, pressing the air out of my lungs one day at a time. I followed her silver Lexus to the outlet mall, telling myself I was paranoid, that I'd laugh about this later. Spoiler, I wouldn't be laughing. My truck idled 3 rows back as her car disappeared into the parking structure. I'd played this scene in my head 100 times, following her through town, hitting red lights, almost losing her. Doing it in real life felt like déjà vu. I expected her to park near Nordstrom Rack, same place she always met Lisa. I pictured her walking in, me sitting there feeling like the world's biggest idiot for doubting her. Maybe I'd even grab flowers on the way home to surprise her. But she didn't park near Nordstrom. She drove past the main entrance entirely, spiraling up to the 3rd level, nearly empty on a Friday afternoon. My chest tightened with each loop upward. Nobody parks on level 3 unless they don't want to be seen. I pulled in behind a concrete pillar. Her Lexus crept forward like she was hunting for something, or someone. Then I saw it. A black Lincoln SUV. I knew that car. 6 months ago, it had been in my driveway when Greg came by to drop off Michelle's laptop. My hands clenched the wheel hard enough to leave dents. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe Greg was just shopping. Maybe his wife sent him for cookware. Maybe Michelle parking 2 spaces away was just coincidence. She sat in her car for 30 seconds, fixing her makeup in the mirror, applying lipstick with the kind of precision she used before big meetings. Through the windshield, I watched her take 3 deep, steadying breaths. Then she stepped out, black dress riding up just enough to need that quick, practice tug back down. Her heels clicked through the near-empty parking level, sharp, confident taps that didn't sound like a woman on her way to browse handbags with friends. She strolled right past the black Lincoln without so much as a glance, but her fingers slid along the hood like she was greeting an old lover. My stomach twisted. She stopped at the edge of the structure, leaning casually against the concrete barrier, staring down toward the mall. The phone in her hand was nothing but a prop. She wasn't texting. She was waiting. The Lincoln's door opened. Greg stepped out, and even from 50 yards away, I caught the glint of his wedding ring in the light. He was in dark jeans and a polo shirt, casual Friday cranked to the limit. Not the pressed suits he wore when he toasted me and Michelle at our anniversary dinner. He walked straight to her, no hesitation, his hand finding the small of her back like it belonged there. She turned toward him, her posture shifting, body language loosening in a way I'd never seen. It was like watching a stranger wearing my wife's face. I pulled out my phone, my hands steady from years of documenting every detail on a job site. My old foreman's voice rang in my head, "Cover your ass with proof." I hit record and moved closer, using parked cars as cover. Their voices carried in the concrete cavern. "I missed you," Michelle said, breathless. That tone, soft, hungry, had been gone from our marriage for years. "It's been 3 days," Greg laughed, pulling her closer. "3 days too long," she replied before kissing him. It wasn't a clumsy, stolen kiss. It was polished routine, his fingers in her hair like he'd done it 100 times before. "Ellen thinks I'm at the gym," he murmured when they broke apart. "Dan thinks I'm out with the girls," Michelle smirked, her voice dripping with contempt. He actually believed Heather needed a sitter. Greg chuckled. "You're terrible. You love it," she purred. "I love you," he said. Michelle didn't say it back, she just grabbed his hand and tugged him toward the Lincoln. They tumbled into the back seat with the gracelessness of teenagers. I kept filming. 30 seconds of undeniable truth, his wedding ring flashing, her voice saying things I'd never heard from her, making sounds I didn't even recognize after 12 years together. I stopped recording when his hands slid under her dress. Some things you can't unsee, and I didn't need the extra nightmares. The 10 steps from my truck to their car felt like crossing a desert. My boots barely made a sound. I'd spent too many years learning to move quiet on job sites. I yanked the Lincoln's door open. Greg froze mid-motion. What the hell? I grabbed his collar and dragged him out. He hit the concrete with a grunt, and before he could stand, my fist connected with his jaw, 15 years of hauling lumber and swinging hammers behind it. The crack echoed through the garage. Dan! Michelle's scream was high, panicked. She scrambled to pull her dress down, her mascara streaking. Dan, please, it's not what it looks like. I laughed, an ugly, hollow sound even to my own ears. Really? That's the line you're going with? Greg tried to get up, blood running from his nose. Look, man, we can talk about. My boot caught him in the ribs, dropping him again. Stay down. Michelle was out of the car now, reaching for my arm. You're going to kill him. No, I said, stepping back. I'm not touching either of you again. I could hear radios crackling. Security was already sprinting toward us. Someone must have seen it on camera or heard the commotion. Good. I wanted witnesses to see me walk away. Dan, wait. Michelle's voice cracked on my name. Please, we need to talk. I can explain. I turned just once. She stood there in that black dress, hair mussed, lipstick smeared, looking like a stranger had stolen my wife's skin. I've got everything I need, I said, holding up my phone like a trophy. Security reached Greg first, hauling him up to a sitting position. One guard moved toward me, but I raised both hands. I'm leaving. He can press charges if he wants. I'll be at home. The walk back to my truck felt like the longest of my life. Behind me, Michelle kept calling my name, her voice fraying into desperation with every repetition. But now, Dan was just a sound, empty, meaningless. I drove home in silence, no music, no talk radio, just the hum of the road. Pulled into the driveway and stared at the house we'd built together. The foundation was solid, I'd made sure of that. But everything above it? Rotten. Hidden decay behind a fresh coat of paint. Time to tear it all down. By 3 a.m., my home office looked like a war room. Bank statements scattered across the desk. Printed emails clipped to a string line over my head. Legal documents stacked in color-coded folders. I'd been at it for 6 hours, running on black coffee and a slow-burning fury. Sarah Kellerman's business card sat against my monitor. My foreman had slipped it to me months ago. Best divorce attorney in the state, he'd said. She handled mine when I caught Denise with the neighbor, took him for everything. The consultation was set for Monday, but I wasn't just going to sit around until then. The video was safe in 6 different cloud backups, trimmed to the most damning 30 seconds. Nothing obscene, I'm not that guy, but enough. Their wedding rings. Their voices admitting the lies. The casual cruelty when they laughed about me. Ellen Dalton deserved the truth. I found her contact info through LinkedIn. Marketing director, Cornell MBA, mother of 2. Her photos showed a polished woman with tired eyes. The email was short. Mrs. Dalton, you don't know me, but our spouses know each other very well. You deserve to know the truth. I'm sorry it has to come this way. Dan Morrison. 1 attachment. Send. Next came Morrison Marketing's board of directors. Their emails were in the company's annual report. Funny enough, Claire had brought that report home last month. She'd even pointed to Greg's photo, bragging about how professional he looked. Email subject, ethical violation, senior executive conduct. The attached video documents inappropriate conduct between Greg Dalton, senior executive, and a direct report. This is a serious breach of professional ethics and company policy regarding workplace relationships and abuse of authority. I trust you will act accordingly. Send. HR got the same thing. So did 3 of the company's biggest clients, CEOs whose info I'd found in proposal drafts Claire left open on our shared laptop. In construction, you call it load distribution. Spread the weight so no single point takes all the stress. I wanted Greg crushed from every angle. My phone buzzed, Greg calling. I let it ring and screenshot the call log. Then came a text. We need to talk about this like adults. Another. You don't understand the situation. And then? This will destroy innocent people. Too late for that. I screenshotted every single message. Proof he knew he was guilty. My foreman would have been proud of the paper trail. Michelle wasn't coming home that night. She texted earlier, claiming she was at her mother's and needed space to think. I replied with a simple thumbs up emoji, letting her believe she still had control of the story. She had no clue that a locksmith was scheduled for 8 in the morning, the movers for 9, and that I'd already rented a storage unit, solely in my name. By 4 a.m., I had everything cataloged. Joint assets? They'd be divided according to state law, but I'd already moved half our savings into a personal account, my legal right. The house would eventually have to sell, but I'd already lined up a furnished apartment near my current project site. Her jewelry, pieces I'd bought over the years, went into a box labeled Return to Sender. The prenup we'd signed back when we were young and dumb, thinking it was romantic, to protect each other, was about to earn its keep. The infidelity clause was bulletproof. She'd walk away with her retirement account, her car, and half the house equity, nothing else. At 4:47 a.m., my phone lit up, Ellen Dalton calling. She'd read my email. Is this real? Her voice was calm, professional, but I could hear the cracks. Yes. How long? 6 months, maybe longer. I only found out today. A pause. He's still asleep. Thinks I don't know about the burner phone in his car. I'm sorry. Don't be, she said sharply. You've done me a favor. Another pause. I've already forwarded your email to my attorney and his mother. She hung up. By sunrise, Greg's Facebook status switched to its complicated before disappearing entirely. Ellen worked fast. The last document came off my printer just as the sky lightened. I knew the crew would notice I looked like hell, but they wouldn't ask. That's the thing about working with men who've all been divorced. They recognize the walking wounded. By 7 a.m., my phone was blowing up. Michelle's calls and texts were piling up, starting with confusion, then sliding into panic. Why is there a locksmith outside? Dan, what's going on? The locks don't work. Answer your phone. I pulled into the construction site and silenced the phone. Big Mike, my foreman, saw me, poured coffee into my thermos without asking. Heard there's drama at that marketing firm, he said an hour later, as casually as talking about the weather. Some video got sent to the whole board. CEO's having emergency meetings. That's so? I kept my eyes on the blueprints. Yeah. Word is, an exec was banging his subordinate. Both out by lunch. I took a slow sip. Shame when people can't keep it professional. Mike studied me for a beat, then clapped my shoulder. You need anything, brother, you just say the word. By the afternoon, Michelle's tone had shifted. Eric was fired. They fired me too. This is insane. You've ruined everything. We could have worked this out. Please, Dan, please talk to me. I finally responded at 3 p.m. Your things are in the garage. Divorce papers are on the kitchen counter. Keys under the mat. Don't contact me unless it's through lawyers. Her reply came instantly, you bastard. You destroyed everything. I stared at the screen, then typed back. No, Claire. You did. Then I blocked her number. By nightfall, the Charlotte business circuit was buzzing. Eric Dalton, once a golden boy, terminated for misconduct. His wife already filing for divorce and taking the kids to Connecticut. The scandal was being contained, but everyone knew containment only works in press releases. In reality, it was already bleeding through country clubs and boardrooms. I sat in my bare apartment, eating cold lo mein straight from the carton. Unpacked boxes leaned against the walls. No pictures, no decor, but the place had solid bones. Tomorrow I'd meet with Sarah Kellerman to sign the papers. Tonight I was rebuilding from the studs up, one calculated decision at a time. A LinkedIn notification buzzed on my phone. 3 CEOs had just viewed my profile, probably trying to figure out who detonated Dalton's career. I smiled to myself and went back to my blueprints. Some guys would've taken the high road. Let karma handle it. But karma's a luxury for men who don't know what happens when you let a demolition run wild. I'd learned long ago, control the collapse, or it crushes you. 2 weeks later, I opened my apartment door to find Claire standing there. Designer raincoat dripping onto the hallway carpet, her frame thinner, face sharper. It reminded me of the broke college girl I'd fallen for, except this version carried the weight of calculated betrayal. "Can I come in?" she asked, voice tentative. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, scanning the space like it might be rigged. Her eyes landed on the construction blueprints spread across the coffee table. "You've really moved on," she murmured. "You wanted to talk," I said flatly. She lowered herself onto the couch, folding her hands. No wedding ring, just a pale indent on her finger. She was wearing the same perfume from our first date. Once, I would have called it comforting. Now, it smelled like a tactic. "I need you to understand, it meant nothing," she began. I stayed standing, arms crossed. "So it was a mistake? You never meant to hurt me? Which cliché are we starting with?" Her voice faltered. "It wasn't supposed to happen." "Bullshit," I snapped. "Affairs don't just happen. You made 1,000 choices, every text, every lie, every time you walked toward him instead of coming home. It started in Chicago," she admitted quietly. "That January conference. We'd had too much wine. He told me my presentation was brilliant. That I was undervalued. That you didn't appreciate what you had. So you slept with him." She flinched. "Not that night. But when we got back, he started messaging me, little things. Jokes, articles. It felt good to have someone who understood my work." "I understood your work." "No, you tolerated it," she fired back. "When's the last time you asked about my projects? My goals? You'd come home covered in dust and tune out the second I talked about market analysis. So that justifies it?" My voice was ice. "I was building our future while you were building PowerPoints. And somehow I'm the villain?" Her eyes filled, but she didn't wipe the tears. "I'm not justifying it. I'm telling you why. With him, I felt seen. Like I mattered beyond being someone's wife. You were my partner. My best friend. The person I trusted most in the world." "I know," she whispered. And I threw it away. "For what?" "He won't even return my calls now. His lawyer sent me a cease and desist. Says I'm a liability to his divorce case." A bitter laugh escaped me. "You thought he'd choose you?" "I thought." She shook her head. "It doesn't matter. I've lost everything. My job. My reputation. My husband. They walked me out of Morrison with a security escort. 12 years building my career, gone in 12 minutes, she said bitterly. "You'll find another job," I replied. She shook her head. "No, I won't." She shoved her phone toward me. An email. One that had gone to every major firm in the city. "Eric will bounce back. He's got golf buddies, old deals, people who'll throw him a lifeline. But me? I'm the subordinate who slept with her boss. I'm radioactive." The room went quiet. Sympathy should have been there somewhere, but all I felt was cold satisfaction. "Eleanor took everything," she added. "The house, the investments, full custody. She had a forensic accountant tear through their books. Turns out I wasn't the first. Not even close. You're telling me this, why? So you'll know I wasn't special," she said, her voice cracking with bitterness. "I wasn't his soulmate. I was just easy, available, stupid enough to believe him." She stood, locked eyes with me. "And I need to ask you something." I waited. "How could you be so cruel?" she demanded. "The video, the emails, you didn't just want a divorce. You wanted to destroy me." "I wanted consequences," I answered evenly. "This goes beyond consequences," she shot back. "This is scorched earth. I stepped forward close enough to see the waterproof mascara. You want to talk about cruelty? Cruelty is letting me kiss you goodbye every morning while you went to him. Cruelty is texting him at dinner while I talked about my day. Cruelty is climbing into our bed smelling like hotel soap, pretending nothing happened. I never meant. Cruelty. I cut in, my voice like steel. Is laughing with him about how I believed Sandra needed a sitter. Making me a punchline. Turning me into some pathetic fool who deserved it. She broke then, hands over her face. I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so damn sorry. I know you are, I said. Now. After you've lost everything. You weren't sorry when you had him. You weren't sorry when you thought you'd walk away clean. What do you want me to say? She cried. That I'm a horrible person. Fine, I'm horrible. I destroyed our marriage for nothing. I hurt the one person who loved me. Happy now? I don't need anything from you, I replied. She moved to the door, then stopped. The divorce papers, I signed them. Uncontested. You can file whenever you're ready. Monday. She nodded, opened the door, turned back. That video, do you still have it? No, I lied. The file was encrypted and buried deep. Insurance I hoped I'd never need. I really did love you, she said softly. I just forgot for a while. No, Claire, I corrected. You just got caught. I shut the door. Listened to her heels fade down the hall until the sound was gone. Through the window, I watched her sit in her Lexus for 5 minutes before driving off. My phone buzzed, Big Mike and the crew. Murphy's Bar. First round on us. I grabbed my jacket. Locked the apartment. The boys would toast my freedom without prying for details. That was our way. Tomorrow, we'd build something new. The foundation was already set. 6 months later, I was on the roof of the Riverside complex, sunrise turning the city gold. We'd finished early, under budget, 0 accidents. The crew's bonus would carry them through the holidays. My phone vibrated. Jessica. Coffee still at 9? I want to hear about the Chicago proposal. I smiled. Your place or mine? Yours. Better view. Jessica Huang. Structural engineer. Divorced. 2 kids. 0 tolerance for bullshit. We met on this project, bonded over the wreckage of our old lives, and started something neither of us was in a rush to label. She knew my story, and she still wanted to meet for coffee. Thanks for listening till the end. Subscribe to the channel, even more shocking stories are coming your way.